Happy New Year, and thank you so much for tuning in to this episode of At a Scope in 2016. I can't believe how fast last year went by. On this episode, I'm going to talk about bike racing, why I started using Snapchat, and how to measure business performance year over year.
Sports marketing expert Brian Cristiano.
Brian Cristiano.
Sports fans are arguably the most passionate people probably on the face of this planet.
Marketers and advertisers and brands always have to keep in mind, you have to play to the state of your audience.
If you're not passionate, do something else. Yeah, I can't believe it's 2016 already. It was 2015 was just an absolutely incredible year. So many amazing things happened for me. We doubled the size of the business in 2015. I got married. I rescued a puppy. Just so much incredible stuff. Went to Africa. It was really, really unbelievable on our honeymoon. Just such a great year. And 2016, I think, is going to be even better. I'm super, super excited to see what we can do with the business, to see what me and my wife, what adventures we go on, to see our puppy grow up. There's just so many awesome things. And that brings me to my passion for today's episode, which is bike racing, which, you know, some of you who do watch this episode know that I bike race. We sponsor a bike racing team here in New York. And so it's something that's very close to me that I'm very passionate about anyway. But what's happened over the last couple of months after getting married and getting a dog and traveling and everything else, it made it very hard for me to sustain the volume of training that it requires to be a competitive bike racer, even, you know, midway up the amateur circuit. And the last month and a half, I spent a lot of time off the bike. I just didn't have the time. I didn't make the time. I didn't have the motivation. And what happened is the longer that went on over the course of the last 2 months, month and a half, I just came up with more and more reasons why, well, you know what? At this point, I've lost so much fitness. I'll get back to that in January, et cetera, et cetera. And then finally, it kind of struck me the last day of December, New Year's Eve, and I go, you know what? I've been putting this off, and it's my own fault for not making the time. So I got out New Year's Eve on the bike. It was late in the day. I got home. It was dark out by the time I got back from my training ride. And you know what? My legs hurt. I felt like garbage because of all the time that I took off. But I felt awesome because I got back out there and did it. And I think that that's just kind of a bit of a metaphor, A, for life, B, for 2016, which is, you know what? If you're going to be putting yourself out there, spending a lot of time, like running a business, getting married, having a family, all these things, at some point, you just run out of hours in the day. You can't put 100% of your energy into every single thing. It's just impossible. You run out of time in the day. And so sometimes you have to put one thing down to pick something else up. And that's okay. And it's also okay to go back and do what you stopped or what you put down, which was, for me, training on the bike racing. And you know, the last 4 days I put in 155 miles, which sounds like a lot if you don't bike race, but for me, for bike racing at the level, that's kind of like an average 4 days of training. And you know what? My legs feel like I did 500 because I haven't been training and I'm out of shape. But it feels so awesome to be back out there. It reminded me of why I was doing it. And I think that it also made me remember of how much more focused I was in the business when I was also training and racing during the 2015 season, which is very long. It's like April to, I think my last race was it was the first week of September before I got married. And that's a lot of time to be training, to be racing. And I actually focused on the business more because I had less time to do it. I would take 2 to 4 hours every morning and train. That's a lot of time out of your schedule. You're more tired at night. So because you have to recover from that morning's training ride, so it makes you focus so much more on the time that you do have. And I think that's something that I've always found that the busier I am, the more efficient I am at everything that I do. And so adding bike racing and training back into my life is actually making me more focused for 2016, even though the time commitment is huge. So I'm really passionate about what's going to happen in 2016, both for the business, for my family, my wife, etc., but also bike racing, because you know what? I kind of started to get to the feeling, in all honesty, in early December of like, you know what? Maybe I got as far as I'm going to go in, you know, the bike racing circuit. Like maybe I'm just going to manage the team, and that's kind of it. And now I'm feeling the total opposite. I'm going all in. I'm going to be training 6-7 days a week. and getting back into full shape and training and racing, and we'll see what happens in the spring. And because I'm doing that, I'm gonna be even more focused on the business, so that is awesome, and I'm super passionate about it. Okay, I'm gonna rewind. Let's get to the product, and it's Snapchat. And I recently, and only recently, started using Snapchat on any sort of regular basis, only the last like 2 weeks. And, and to be totally honest, and, I'm humbled to say this, Gary Vaynerchuk is talking about it a lot lately. He's been putting a lot of energy over there. So has DJ Khaled. Like, he has spent tons and tons of time on Snapchat, and he has amassed a huge following. He has a big following on Twitter, but equally as large on Snapchat. And I think that what I notice is when I see these guys who do very well in these social platforms are starting to put more of their attention there. Obviously, we know that there's a lot of users on Snapchat. It's a younger audience, but it's expanding, it's getting older. That means that it's time for me to also take advantage of that. Look at what these guys like Gary and what DJ Khaled is doing and where they're going, and also spend my time and energy there as well. And I agree with what both of them are doing, which is this is the next new platform, right? Like Instagram was a couple years ago. If you started getting involved with it then, which I wish I had gotten involved with Instagram earlier than I did. I think I'm very far behind in my Instagram game, if you want to call it that. And so what I want to do now is get ahead of the curve, get on it. So anybody that's out there who watches this, who isn't using Snapchat, even if you think that it's not for B2B, even if you think that it's just for a young audience, it's not true at all. And it's going to continue to evolve over the next 2, 3, 4, 5 years. And even if you're wrong, you know what? You're going to learn a lot from using this different platform. So I'm going to put up my QR code here. So if you are on Snapchat, or if you aren't, take a snap of this and then follow me, and I'll follow you back as well, because this is how the community builds. There's no way to discover other people, or no easy way to discover people in Snapchat. So the only way to do so is to drive people there from other channels. So this is my way of doing that to you. Okay, performance for the week. Or this episode, rather. Tracking a company's performance year over year, right? It's 2016 now. What do companies look at? Okay, like a growing company. I'm not talking about Fortune 500 companies. They have a million things that they're looking at. But more entrepreneurial, scrappier, mid-sized companies that have the financials to do big things, but are still small and still act kind of like a startup that's kind of like bold in how we are, right? And I think there's a few things. One, of course, everybody looks at top line revenue, right? Like, where did you go from 2015 to 2016? We doubled that. Bottom line revenue, where did that go, right? Because you can double your top line revenue and make no money, or even lose money in that case. So growing your top line doesn't necessarily make for a healthier company. So I'm always paying attention to the bottom line as well. I want to grow the top line, but I also want to increase our margins as we grow. I think that's an important thing as a company, because it sets you up for success by allowing you to grow and expand the company organically through your own cash flow, and having those profits built into the business that you're growing really makes it a lot more flexible to add the staffing, add the people that you need, add the resources, do R&D. And then I think that the most important part, even more importantly than the revenue, is process tracking. And this was the biggest thing for us in 2015, and it's going to continue to be the biggest thing for Bold in 2016, which is, can you track your processes? And I mean all of them. When a client calls, to when a client signs a contract, to when that job gets over to the creative team, to when that leaves house, to the analytics team, to whatever that we're doing. Is that trackable? I think that's one of the most important things. And if it's trackable, is it measurable? I don't want to just measure success on, okay, how much revenue are we bringing in, or how much profit are we making on client X, Y, and Z. I want to know, what exactly are we doing? How efficiently can we bring a client in? Can we execute whatever their marketing plan is? And how many people does that take? How many hours does it take? What are the resources that are actually required? And can we either increase the value that we're delivering to those clients, meaning we give them more for their dollars under the same amount of resources, Or can we do the same with less resources, which means that we now have more resources for all of our clients together? So I think being able to track your processes and then being able to measure them for success is just huge. And I mean, literally everything from website visits to phone calls to signing a client to onboarding them to executing a marketing campaign to doing creative to handing it off to communications with clients. All that needs to be measurable. And again, I think that's bigger than measuring your revenue because all of that is indicative of driving your revenue. If you can make your process more efficient, you can have more top line revenue and you can have more bottom line revenue. So with that, this is episode number 63. I hope you enjoyed it. Happy New Year. Thank you guys so much. Happy New Year to you, and thank you so much for tuning in to episode number 63 of Out of Scope. I really appreciate it. Please make sure to subscribe, comment, and share, because the more of you that get interactive in the community, the more of you that spread this around, the better the content is going to continue to get. I have an awesome interview coming up this Wednesday. Please make sure to check that out. It's going to be a good one.